Magnus Carlsen on the screen. Is there
But
anyone?
it seems like you have to know. It seems like you have to know what those reasons are, right? In order to assess whether those reasons are the ones that pertain to the evils or not. The evils that exist in the world.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing is like, I mean, Magnus Carlsen. So, so one point is like, for things that seem inexplicable, they're generally caused by constraints. So the reason why Magnus Carlsen, Magnus Carlsen has to play by a set of rules. He doesn't have unlimited power. But if he did, he could just, send a tornado to knock his opponent's king over, And so, and I mean, I think that this applies to like all of the analogies that people give for skeptical theism. Of like, all of them are just because, strategy gets really complicated when you're limited. And so, there's the analogy that people often give of like a parent may not understand why or a child may not understand why their parents are doing the surgery, but their parents are not omnipotent. And if they were, they would just snap their fingers, make them better, and they wouldn't need the surgery. I actually gave a similar analogy about Magnus Carlsen in a college essay, but that's another story.
It's difficult to see hands with the lighting, but nobody. Okay. All right. So he's a Norwegian chess grandmaster. He's the reigning 5-time world chess champion. But if you're not into chess at all, some of the moves that a grandmaster is going to make might seem kind of puzzling to you. It might seem kind of weird. But does the fact that you don't know why they made their last moves, does that mean that they couldn't possibly have a reason for making that move?
No. But the fact that you can see them right in front of you, right, is a good reason to think that they exist and have such reasons. Because there's a very disanalogous line of reasoning between the case of assessing whether so if you're just looking at the chessboard, right? So this is how you make it analogous to the philosophy of religion case, is that you're just looking at the chessboard and you're trying to infer whether or not there's a person with reasons moving the chessboard, or it's just like a computer program or something, right? And that's kind of more analogous to what Cameron is trying to describe here, because the question is whether or not there is a person moving the chess pieces, right? In either case, that exists.
Right, and the other point is that even if we grant the analogy fully, this will still be very strong evidence against theism, because if you consider the possible the possible arrangements of chess moves that would provoke similar bafflement in a person, the vast majority of them are so like if we say that Magnus Carlsen's move would be totally inexplicable to a beginner, well, the vast majority of moves that would be totally inexplicable to a beginner are not going to be the optimal set of moves, and so it would still be decent probabilistic evidence. And then,
but this is what I'm saying is, if you're just looking at the chessboard, right, and you see, say, it's the opening move, and you see one of the like central pawns move 2 spaces forward, and then what the theist is sort of saying we should do there, considering that's all the knowledge we have is that observation, is then infer that Magnus Carlsen moved it and he has reasons for doing so which we can't understand. And I'm saying that is like not an inference we should be making based off of just that.
Yeah. And I mean, another like relevant disanalogy is that with Magnus Carlsen, the moves may seem inexplicable for a little while, but like after not too long, you figure it out. If Magnus Carlsen had played 1 billion games and like they hadn't gone very well for him, and we still had no idea what he was thinking, it'd not be rational to infer that he had some master like 1 billion long game super plan.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the situation. I mean, we've just seen like horrendous suffering that seems totally inexplicable for billions of years.
So it's like you're looking at the board, right? And suppose the kind of side that you're assessing, I've forgotten what the actual term is the whites, right? And all of the pawns have been taken. All of the, like the castles, the knights, the bishops, the queen has been taken as well. And there's just the king on the board, and whoever's playing black has all their pieces. And then you're supposed to still infer at that point that it's Magnus Carlsen playing white, and he has reasons for what he's done that you just can't understand because he's so good. You know, he's a grandmaster at chess, right? And that's kind of analogous to what's going on here. Probably.
Yeah. And one other point is that in the case of Magnus Carlsen, for a beginner, it might be hard to explain. But like, if you had the world's smartest people trying to figure out why Magnus Carlsen did a move, if none of them could figure it out, or the world's greatest chess players, the chess equivalents of Plantinga, Swinburne, etc., Rasmussen, well, if none of them could figure it out, then that would be really good evidence that he just made like a boneheaded move. If you have all these smart people and none of them have any idea, or even if they think that they know that why he made some subset of moves, if there are like, let's say there's like one move that he makes, and just all of the top chess players just have no idea why he made that. And they analyze the possible lines, they can't figure out any good answer to why he made that, which I think is the case for many relevant instances of evil. Well, then it would be the rational inference would just be that he made a mistake, and God can't make any mistakes. And there are also just way more examples of like evils that seem unnecessary than there are of plausibly bad chess moves. Yeah, I mean,
so this is what I mean. You've got like all the pieces taken, and you've just got, you know, the king being moved around one space at a time against like all of the other pieces. And Cameron's like, honestly, he's a genius. This guy, like, he's it's coming. He's gonna win. This is gonna be brilliant.
Well, no, I think he should have to have like one rook left. So they're like, you know, so that Cameron can be like, now most theologians recognize that there's no logical problem of having just one rook. It's still possible to win. There's just an evidential problem of having only one rook against all the other side's pieces.
Yeah, it is like that.
And now you may, as a Magnus Carlsen fan, you may be feeling sort of frightened. And you may ask, why did Magnus Carlsen do that? But remember, questions are not arguments. And that's the thing that I like to stress a lot on my channel. And also, it's important to not be emotionally biased. You know, you may be getting worried, but, you know, your emotion of fear, that's not reliable.
Yeah, and it's worth remembering that Magnus Carlsen is galaxy-brained, and we are just mere spectators of a chess event. So Magnus Carlsen, for all we know, has reasons which we cannot fathom as to why he would play this strategy.
Yeah.
And it also makes Magnus, it makes us better players over time to observe this game being played by Magnus.